Hey, welcome back to another GGHL podcast. We're going to go through all of the trades that happened in trade deadline and then do a bit of a playoff preview. We're going to do the trades starting July 1, or not July 1, January 1. Oh,
It's
July,
rough.
July 1 would have sucked, right? Uh, and we got Gus, Joe, Jordan, Moo, and I here today. So, woo-hoo,
Yes.
full squad. All right. So the
Full
first
A.
trade that we're going to go through is the Devils and Wild trade, and look at this. We have the Wild here in the chat with us. So we have New Hook to the Wild with Hoffman at the 2037 seventh for a second. First off, Rebel and Lind. I'm not going to lie, Moo. I have no clue who any of these prospects are. Now the only people I really know are New Hook and Hoffman. So hopefully you can
Yeah.
fill us in a bit better.
Immediate W.
Rebel and Lind are throw-ins, really. Rebel was a roster spot, and for some reason, Angry Canadian Nate just he wanted Lind to have more than one Lind. And I was like, fine, give me a seventh back. Because I picked him like 208th this last year for some shits.
Has a Lafreniere comp, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't know how comps work. He's a
Sure.
defensive. He doesn't look bad. He's not the worst player on earth
No.
by any stretch. He's like an okay prospect. The main get is Fursov. You can fucking see right
Yeah.
now he's third on the report for me. He's actually a pretty decent prospect. Fursov is.
He's fifth on the report for me.
Okay, so a little bit of volatility. Fursov is the main get of this deal for the Devils.
Excellent PA for a guy you drafted that late.
Yeah, I've been surprisingly okay with the. This is the one thing I've been good at is like late round picks. This is a sixth, First off, is like not bad. He's
Early
nothing
sixth?
special, obviously, because he's a sixth. His PA's not ridiculous. He's got flaws, obviously. He's low loyalty. He's low decision making. He's one of those playmakers that is shoot
Right.
pref, so he's a little weird to use. But yeah, no, he's like a good get, and my second, especially if I fucking miss the playoffs, which I might, is also a pretty good get.
Pretty
The
solid
the
bet.
thing for me mainly was New Hook is under contract next year, and I wanted a guy like that.
Solid. And if as I was just saying right before we started recording, if you were to overpay for a roster player, it should be a center or a goalie because those are the most influential ones.
Yes, and I mean he's getting 10 mil next year, and he's not a 10 million player,
No,
but
you
he
have him
works.
at this point, and the other people
Yeah,
don't have him.
That's like
exactly.
a Drysidle replacement potentially.
Ideally next year he steps into that like top six role and one of my younger guys steps into the bottom six and
Mm-hmm.
we see how it goes.
So what do you think? Like your lines are with it? You have a New Hook as third as 3C. Wow, eh? All
Hook's been
right.
my 3C the whole time.
Hell yeah.
New Hook, I've been tweaking it because I haven't found the best fit. I think right now, what am I on right now? Fiala, New Hook, Samoskevich is what I have right now.
Okay.
And it kind of works. I've had a hard time in February making my lines work. I think that's what got to Taran going was I put him with New Hook and then I put him back with Siler and now he's really going again. Like I've just had to fuck with my middle six a lot. But New Hook, Siler are my middle six centers, and I kind of switch them around.
Deteran has a suspension right now. Oh no, bad boy.
He's been. This is so weird because this is an AHL suspension that he's just never served. I
Oh
don't know why
really?
it shows an NHL one. It just shows as one, but
Interesting.
yeah, he's just glitched or something.
31 goals, 14 assists. Ah, man, I think we know his shoot pass preference.
Don't look at Cyril Siler's stat line.
Is it the exact opposite?
Classic,
That'd be bad.
classic Cyril Siler. 3 goals.
38 assists. Hell yeah. All right. Anyways, so I mean, like it's good win for the Wild because they're obviously adding a top end player here with New Hook, and they didn't seem to get rid of too much in the terms of assets for it. But I get why AC would want to move off, especially since there is that condition that's floating around on his first right now.
Who
Yes.
is owned by
The Wild.
It's owned by me with a big ol' asterisk, which is
I
if he misses, I get his second.
You just traded for a second in this trade though. Or no, that's your second. My mistake. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
I
My
have it
second one.
backwards. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
so in essence you gave up a second and 30 draft slots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, the thing is, I don't think he signed Mr. West. Like,
Yeah.
he is deliberately making his way out of the playoffs. If you don't want to make it, you can just do this and have a guy that's like an 850,
I
and he'll
actually think
march your ass right out.
we 100% suggested this specifically on the last pod, as in
Yes.
like sign just some asshole to be, in
Yeah,
net
we
and be
suggested this
this
exact
specifically.
thing.
830 save percentage. Way to go, Weston West. Also, a hell of a
Mr.
name.
West. Hell yeah. Wake up,
Yeah.
Mr. West. Take the Devils out of yeah, like theoretically there's that like yeah, this hurt their team, but if
Intentionally
they
so.
don't want to be in. They are trying their fucking damnedest to make their way out, which is fine. Like at that point I'm like fine, I'll just make them worse and I'll accept that it's like 40th overall or whatever.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think like you gave up a 2037 second for New Hook, and if you look at it like that, and the fact that you gave up 30 draft slots for a guy like Hoffman, who I think still has a
Yeah.
shot to become more than he is.
Hoffman's only like what, 23?
23.
Yeah, no, he's fine. Yeah, he's a
He's
little
not
slow, but
great.
9-11
lot
speed.
slow.
You could be a walking turret. Zachary Gaudette's going to score 40 goals for me. And he's only has like a
Yeah.
9-9
He's the
speed.
guy
But
I'd like to have on my fourth line right wing. So
Yeah. Hoffman's not bad. Yeah, it's worked for me so far ish, kinda. Like Newhook's not been the problem of my gigantic February slump at all. So
Okay.
it's been fine.
all right, next deal is actually between me and Grum, where I paid a third to remove the conditions on the first. There was a massive deal that was talked about between me and Detroit that would have sent Dubois and Matthews my way, but we couldn't make it work. So I was trying to get the Sabres first to be fully tradable, which it was, but I used it for Matthews. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, the main thing of this is the trade we'll get to later with the Matthews trade.
Right. All right. Penguins, Islanders, Eddie for Ponchypinski, who's, of course, the number one ranked defenseman in the league. And Jonah Penman, who I have no clue who Jonah Penman is. I'm not going to lie.
Penman is a squarely okay center prospect. Like he's really nothing special by any stretch. The main thing, like his comp is Solag Novak. He's offensive.
I
he's a
know
right
no.
wing.
Okay.
Oh, is he?
He's
Oh,
gonna be a right wing. He has 10 face off. Like
yeah,
That's a winger.
he's a winger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, his
But-
comp is so like he's maybe an NHLer, but like the main thing is they're essentially getting out of Eddie's really big
Contract, right.
really bad contract for a defenseman who is theoretically good in Pochapinski, who never
Just
plays
not.
well because
Second
As
overall pick.
mentioned, Pochapinski was like waiver fodder essentially. Like,
Yeah.
No trade value.
No,
Edvardson,
not much.
no trade value. So
This
my
is
problem for your
functionally-
younger problem.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah,
cap dump
essentially.
for nothing, effectively.
Yes. Pittsburgh. I don't know. Yeah, they I mean, it's worked for them. Well, actually, they're 2-7-1 their last 10. They just don't want any offensive forwards. Fair enough.
And Pochapinski's hurt for the Penguins
Nice.
on AR.
Yeah, obviously they're getting out of a bad contract though. Eddie is really overpaid, and they're too close to the cap to have stuff like that. Really.
Okay, Gus acquires Ben Bujold for a 2037 seventh. Do you have any hopes for Ben Bujold?
I hope that he doesn't play any more games in San Jose.
Hell yeah, that's a good hope.
That
Ooh.
means we have no more injuries, and I'm happy.
Jesus.
You
Oh
playing
my
actually
God.
playing him at center? Oh yeah, you are 6.1.
I
yeah.
was, yeah. He is the
That's
meme
not-
machine. He was here to fill in. He actually scored 2 points in his first 3 games, and then didn't do dick all.
Yeah, he's got
He's-
a helper in
he's
the Panthers
retiring.
game.
He's so retiring after this,
Oh, 33, yeah.
I hope so.
and his physicals are fucked.
But again, 7th round pick. Like what the? Yeah,
It's
the
scraps.
7th round
Yeah,
pick.
like
I
it's
would
just
rather-
I jump on this waiver claim of the teams.
Okay. So after that, Os trades my first to the Rangers. Pick swap. I don't nothing. I mean, Os probably goes up probably 5 spots or so in a draft by waiting a year.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Which, like,
5?
fine.
They're bad. Maybe
5?
10.
Yeah, I was thinking like 7 to 10.
I mean, that means you expect the Rangers to be a borderline playoff team next year, if that.
So, if we look at the East, I see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that could really go up.
It's fair. I mean, yeah, I could see that, and also could see the Rangers have been on a bit of a skid this season, and I mean, they have money next year, more than they do this year. I feel for contract wise, but they're also probably going to lose Bo Clark.
No,
Yeah, that's
they
the thing.
they re-signed Clark.
Oh, they did. Ah, shit.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! What's his
They-
deal?
5.1.
Five.
That's that's pretty solid
bad.
actually. Yeah.
Not
They're
bad.
going to lose Eichel. Like, that was a pure rental, probably, from
Right.
the jump.
Danielson.
Gunther, Danielson, and then
That's a lot of
you
money
got
they're getting actually.
Lavoie,
Jeez. That's
um,
easy math.
Made
25 million that they're going to get in cap at least, or maybe 30,
Yeah.
20 million. Yeah. Like they can.
It
This
makes
UFA
sense.
class should be decent.
Right.
But then they also have Teddy
McDonough's expiring, right?
so they are gonna have to find a way to extend him. Hopefully,
He is extremely loyal, so I think he'll be able to figure that out. But he's
Wonder if
also
he's just been
ambitious,
lowballing
so
him.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, 8.
to be honest,
9 mil. He might not be willing to pay that for a guy like that.
fair. Like,
You can just play it close. If you get really desperate in like June, yeah, then give him like 14 or whatever. But right now, yeah, you can just play around with it. I don't expect McDonough to leave. I'd be surprised if he does, and if he does, I'm paying him $500 quintillion. But you know
I
how it is.
wouldn't actually give him that much money, honestly. I think he's a
I
shot
actually
first
wouldn't
guy.
either.
He's a shot first
Looking
guy.
at him,
Oh yeah,
I don't
no,
know if I would either.
Well, yeah, he's a shot first guy, but that's
shot
great.
only guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's great because he's 20 off puck, 20 slap shot, 20 wrister, 20 deflect, 20 ant, 20 speed.
All his mentals are really sexy.
Jacked out, yeah. That's fair.
But just the same, all of those add up to not a top line, probably like third line with the right guys around him, a two-way center.
I
You
would say
think
he's
so? I think
he's a
he's a
top line winger, but
he's a
like you
top line
need
guy,
yeah,
but-
you need a playmaking center or a playmaking winger to go with him. And like he's had that before, but also, he's not a point a game player this season, which feels a little concerning considering
He
how
had that
high
one really good year, like a couple
back to
years
back
back.
90 point seasons, but
Yeah, 50 goal, 90 point.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I would
If-
rather shelter him on a line where he can just play offense than play him on a top line where he's going to play against other good players.
perhaps. I mean, it all depends on. I mean, what's
He's playing with
there's
Eichel right now, so
gotcha.
that's a goal. That's a goal scoring center. It's a guy taken away from his looks and could be part of the reason why he's not point
Fair.
per game. But
Most of his stuff is 5-on-5 actually, which is pretty impressive because he has
Yeah.
9 or 7 not playoff power play goals so far. This isn't the most, but it's also not insignificant. Anyways,
Yeah, less than power play points. He's not a power play merchant. He's been hurt for a while too, to be fair, or a
To
little bit at least.
continue with the Rangers. The Rangers then acquired 2 wingers for a first, a second, and a Tanakov.
Yeah, Akotnikov is a low con all around center, so realistically, he's a winger.
Winger.
Not a bad one. Like I kind of like him, but yeah,
How has he
he's
been so far on the Stars? Or is he
he's
down
on the
in-
Canes
trade.
now. We'll get to it.
Okay then.
but let's take a look at Gunther.
In Quasar.
5 goals, 6 assists in 15 games for 11 points, plus minus 6, playing top line left wing. So he's running Eichel, Danielson, and McDonough.
Probably
All three
McDonough. Yeah,
of them.
McDonough's hurt though, so
Yeah. Why
Yeah, McDonough's out right now. To be fair,
does he not have a playmaker?
there's not many playmakers on this roster. Is
You
the
got
thing
Clark.
actually?
Is Pinelli a playmaker? No, he's all
Pinelli's
around.
all around.
The,
Yeah,
the team comp just lacks in balance here.
A lot of all around guys, which I mean I like all around guys, but I like only having like one on a line.
So let's have a look at Kosior playing third line right wing. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists, 7 games.
Like how much different is Cozier from a Teddy McDonough? Honestly, I understand the creativity is a lot less, but I mean we saw Cozier's last season with the Capitals, 50 points in game, 50 goals, 80 points. Whereas
I think McDonough drives a lot more than Kosier does.
probably does.
I think.
I would agree with you on that, but you know, when it comes to production wise, especially if you're a goal scoring winger, I don't see too much of a difference when it comes to like shot metrics.
Yeah, singled out just like their individual performances, I think you get about the same production of Kosior as a first liner as compared to McDonough. But then if you compare them both as third liners, and that's kind of where I was getting at earlier, is McDonough is going to do so much better than your average mid-6 goal scoring winger.
Yeah.
I mean, and Kozier's
Yeah.
had a shit year this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say I think this is a win for Dallas, like a really big win for
It's
Dallas.
huge.
This
Yeah,
trade.
Really?
I
And with those picks.
we we talk a lot about well, it's something I think about is sunk cost essentially. Kosior was a sunk cost. They paid a first for Kosior and they got a first for Kosior essentially. They were like, "Fuck this, he's not working." He was not working in Dallas
No.
at all. So they were like, "Fuck it, we'll trade this guy. We'll get a first, a second, conditional, and a Kotnikov. And a Kotnikov is like an okay spec. He's like fine, young
Would
guy.
you trade a second and a Kotnikov for Gunther?
Yeah.
Straight?
Straight.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's you're breaking
So it's
even
not
at
a wash.
least. Right.
But the fact that Dallas had sunk assets into Kosior and he underperformed based on the asset that they spent with the player they thought they were getting with that asset, they got equal back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
I think
win.
that was
That's
good
a win
work.
for them. Yeah.
Yep.
Tidy
absolutely.
business.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Lots of that for Dallas this deadline. Honestly, I really like this
A lot
deadline
of
for
tidy
them. We'll
business.
get to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
They still
cool.
didn't trade for what they needed.
Yes, they did. Get out of
The
here,
the
Joe.
goalies.
Oh,
Of
Rangers didn't
course.
grab a goalie.
Oh, the Rangers. I think
No,
for a
no.
second I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
you said
yeah,
the
yeah.
Stars need a goalie, and I
No,
was like, Joe,
I
you're
was
on
going. I
crack.
was going off the Rangers still.
Rangers
Yeah,
need a goalie. They could have used these assets, a first, a second, a Konikov, for a goalie.
Ottinger. I thought Ottinger was the exact fit. to
Ottinger
Rangers.
and I I was in talks with him for the rate on it, and he told me we'll do it for just a second, straight up, just a second. And I was like, fine. And he said it was okay as long as he had the cap dollars. And then I looked at his cap space, and he had $5 million, and it was just like, well, he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Go to Tampa.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, I don't hate these dudes. I don't hate Hayden, especially Shishikov is
Just a
kind of
guy,
ass this year.
no.
But Hayden's been like, oh, Hayden's not been great either.
He's league
Uh,
average, and that's not ideal for.
Straight league average. I don't know. Like this is a team that, yeah. The issue is it's kind of hard to get a goalie.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's one of the harder roles to just find a goalie, right? Just find a franchise guy.
Just simply.
Ottinger
Win.
would have been a good
Not-
fit,
Not
given
even
they couldn't get him.
franchise. Just get a guy who can play in the playoffs, right? Like they have the 1A, 1B. They
I
have
mean,
the
you
regular
don't.
season
If
assets.
they don't trade for Genther, they can afford Ottinger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a miss for them. I think the real help they needed was Ottinger. Like I like one of those guys being added to the team. I don't think they needed both Kosior and Genther, and I think they
Oh.
could have used the money for like a Genther on
And then
Jake.
Ottinger.
at what point do they not turn to Drew and ask, okay, Gunther in a couple of seconds? for
I mean,
Ottinger?" And
my
then
only
you
ask
just
was
have to
a
in turn
single
take
second.
Gunther. Right, but they're
Should have asked you
maybe
to
they
take
have to-
Wickstrand.
I probably would have actually.
having to take back that contract and that salary, maybe you could have asked for a little bit more, maybe not another second, but like
Ooh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean. And then you in turn turn around and flip Gunther. Like it's a lot of legwork, and that's kind of why I felt like one 24-hour period between the last sim and the trade deadline is kind of hurting.
This trade happened 4 days ago, though. Like, he had time, you know?
This one had
That's
time.
fair. MZ does not spend his time wisely, though.
No,
if
he
I can
doesn't.
speak from experience.
Harsh.
Okay. Up next, the Jets acquired Dante Fabro for my third and Felix from the Devils.
Felix is an old high PA guy that I think New Jersey is essentially just trying to have get a fresh start here.
And
Um,
Fabro's a bottom pair guy, mid pair guy,
old
probably.
bottom Prairie
Right.
guy. We'll talk about this again. Winnipeg at this time, and this is the thing when we're going over like 2 months of in-game time. This is when Winnipeg was surging, and then they fell, and then they were like, "Fuck this, we're sellers." Like they're pretty far back at this point. They're like 6 points back at the deadline. They were, I think, 4 points back.
That'd be
Yeah, at the deadline they were 8 points back. So
At this time, he said he was 3 points back, and he traded a third for Fabro, and then literally traded Fabro for a third to Pittsburgh
later,
So
and
a
Felix for
solid
nothing.
little whatever.
I don't think Felix is anything special. New Jersey is trying to get something out of him. He's a defensive guy with fucking terrible mentals. The New Jersey, like
Ooh,
high
no,
PA, very bad mentals. The New Jersey is trying to make work. It's interesting. We'll see if it does. We'll see if it does work.
signed an extension too, actually, with the Devils.
He's high PA. We'll like a pretty fucking high PA. We'll see if they can get something out of him.
Yeah,
That's a good deal for New Jersey. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, get a guy for a guy that you weren't going to expect anything out of it.
and Winnipeg
Yeah.
takes a shot. That's a good deal. Like, that's the kind of stuff you like to see.
yeah.
Okay. Some more tidy business from the Stars. They get a second and Lily Jamo for Ludwig Pearson, which sent to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Hero was big in getting a center. He gets himself a center. Probably not as high end as he really wanted, but Pearson's not bad. I mean, hasn't been
No.
the greatest with the Jackets so far, but
5 points in 9 games isn't terrible. It's
Per-
hard to say where
Pearson's-
he's playing him at.
He's okay. He's an okay center. I think getting Liliamo back was pretty slick for Dallas. I think this is a guy that they have just slid into the lineup, and obviously he's not like a driver in any way, but they put him with goal scorers and he puts up numbers. Like he's
That's-
pretty good.
The kind of replacement that you would expect to fill a Kosio role who is underperforming, or a Gunther role. Like, when those guys aren't performing and you need to cut cap, that's a good deal.
I'm gonna get ahead of it now and say that Dallas is my deadline winner.
Deadline?
My big
Okay.
deadline winner. I think every move they made, I really like for them. Some of them I also like for the other team. This one I like for the Jackets too. They can afford persons like a longer contract. They're fine. This is a young enough team that you can afford a guy who was like a year too many, is like a year too old. You can live with that. If you're the Jackets, you're totally fine.
and this is the
Um,
EHM world where if somebody is overpaid, you can just throw them in the minors and they don't affect your cap.
Yes. So it's really no big deal to get person. Yeah, the thing is he's probably got like a year too many and he's a year too old. If that bites you in the ass, who cares? You'll have space in 2040. You'll be fine. Is kind of the thing with Columbus. And this is not a ridiculous price, but it's good work for Dallas to get really anything out of a guy that they were just trying to get rid of realistically.
Is
Especially a guy like Logan.
Pearson scratched, or is he just like coming off of injury?
Not sure. Would have to
Because
check.
the last time he played was the 24th, and that's 2 sims ago now.
Would be interesting.
If he was
You can
scratched.
check his
Injury.
history.
Injury. He was injured.
Okay. Okay.
What's contusion?
Joe, one of your trades is up next. Eric Brandstrom for a fourth, a fifth, and Brad Plow.
What do you
Yep.
think, Joe?
Yeah, well, I haven't really seen how that's working for me yet because Brandstrom got injured in the first sim after that, but he's back now.
Back now. Okay.
But fills my bottom 6 D man that I needed.
I
So-
like EB a lot. It's sad to see, like, 37 years old, starting to fade a little bit more than you'd like, but he's expiring. But I love EB.
Wouldn't be
As
shocked if he
overhyped as
retires.
is. Yeah, I think he should.
Former waiver
Well,
claim of mine I never
Well,
processed.
when he was with Ottawa, he announced he was going to retire. but he's not on that now since he was traded to me.
Wanted to be in a contender. I mean,
I
big
mean, if
shot.
I was in Ottawa, I mean, like,
I mean,
I'm a Leafs fan, but like, if I was in Ottawa, I would want to retire too.
Brandstrom Brandstrom played 1,222 games with the Ottawa Senators, for what it's worth.
Way
He
to go,
was
buddy.
he was a horse for him for an eon. So they're just sending him to a cup contender, trying to see if he can get a cup. Good. Let's go, Brandstrom. Hell yeah, brother.
Ottawa was actually pretty good in Jordan's reign. It's a little bit before your time. Hey, you had a pretty good team. Like,
My defense was Sanderson, Brandstrom, Shiro, Hellison, and maybe one more. I don't know. It was like five really good defensemen, and the
Yeah.
six was really good too.
and you had some good goalie play. You
Yeah,
picked up
completely goals.
Abershon in that draft and had
Yeah.
Stützle, Abershon, and
Well, that team really was in a good position, but the guy who took over picked up uh,
Gal.
a defenseman for like 10 million.
Nemec, I think,
And
right?
what's up?
Was it Nemec?
Oh
That
yeah,
Ruby
Nemec
picked
was
up?
on.
Yeah.
No, Nemec was on my team already. So
Oh.
Nemec was the last guy. So yeah. But in any case, he picked up some guy for like 10 or 11 million, and they were in cap and hell forever, and they had lost guys, and they had to change the team, but they were in such a strong position, and they picked up like a really expensive defenseman when there's five defensemen on your team that are already top four, and like
Yeah.
really good. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Brandstrom was trying his best to break the career games played on the Sens record. He came close. Didn't beat Shabbat though.
Shabbat has it. Yep.
Shabbat 1,300.
How many did Alfie play? I'm curious. All right. Next.
On the Sens, probably 1,000ish.
Okay. All right. Next deal is I acquire Tobias Bjornfoot for Jules Bayard. Jules was a former first round pick of mine that did not work out at all, to say the least. He might have been an early second, actually. But I get a
I think first.
first. Regardless, it was one of the dead drafts. But I got Bjornfoot back because my penalty kill, believe it or not, is not very good. 73%, which isn't ideal. So I was trying, let me get a more defensive defenseman here to add in and hopefully help out that PK. But
I mean, I like these trades for both sides, really. If you're a bad team, I think it's a good idea to take shots on these guys who just aren't developing for other guys. We'll get to another one of these later with me trading Russo to the Blues. If you're a bad team, fuck it, right? Like, see if you can get a guy like this to develop. He's decent PA. Bylard is
yeah,
like
he is a
okay,
Moria crop, a Gus Renfrew crop actually, which is
not bad. Like, yeah, and Bjornfot is just like a bottom pair PK specialist. He's nothing special, but like that was the only hole on Montreal.
right. All right. Another Tampa Montreal trade where I send Joris Barbero off to the Sun for a second round pick and a second if he resigns.
Off to the sun.
Off to the Sun.
So funny how fucking dog shit. He's the only guy in your team not playing insane.
Like I had him on the wing with Toporowski, and he was like a -5, and Topo was like a +15 at the time, and I was just like, "What the fuck? You're on the same line. How are you even doing this?"
Yeah,
That's sad.
he's
man.
not been really excelling on. He's been pretty bad with the laning, to be honest. He has 10 giveaways, which is like a lot for a guy who's like his main role is being a complimentary, get the puck, be safe with it guy. 10
Right.
giveaways in 13 games is a fucking lot.
And like,
Where did Everton go? The other guy.
Oh, Edwardson is in fucking New York, the Islanders right now, playing mediocre. So that's about right.
and like, yeah, Barb's
Yeah.
used to kill it, but like, and I was just hoping like, oh, maybe a change of scenery, put him on a good team would help out, and the whole before
Hates being in
Logan,
the East.
before Logan, Upton left, he was just like, oh, Barb's will be good on a good team, and no, he wasn't.
Yeah, I like
No.
the fuck this guy, best of luck bullets.
Yeah.
Acceptance boost there.
Yeah, another one where I kind of like the gambit. Barbero's not old. He's a guy who, like, when his physicals are so fucking good that when the Lightning are actually like good, it honestly shouldn't be that far off. When they're good, theoretically, if they can get Barbero back to like the form he was at in St. Louis for a couple of years with the right guys, uh, this should theoretically be a good pickup. And it didn't cost them any firsts or anything. It was like a
No, this
second
is
and a
second,
couple
and if he
seconds.
re-ups, yeah, second.
Like
But
totally fine. But
again,
yeah,
I feel Tampa's a good team. It's just, my sus nom is Montpettit because 839 in 42 games,
He's
man.
Locon.
Yeah, Lokan, he's absolute dog shit, man.
mine is Mr. West.
Fair. That's another good. Same type of reasoning though.
Yeah.
Okay. Oss trades Ty Walsh to the Flyers for Ian Folan.
Folina's a guy I actually know about because he got sniped like a pick before me, and I was really pissed off. I actually quite like him. I think he's a pretty decent like goal scoring spec, if I'm remembering correctly. Uh, Nothing
Walsh has been
special.
Yeah, he
killing
looks
it in
good.
Philly. 7 points in 9 games. 767 AVR after not doing so hot in St. Louis.
Philly, who notably are in a playoff spot because nobody in the fucking East wants a playoff spot. Nobody at all. Just fucking.
He also re-upped Walsh to a 5 year, about almost just under a $4 million contract.
Ooh, that is expensive for a guy with those physicals. Jesus.
Already can't skate. Yeah, it makes me a little nervous. I like the deal for Philly. They've still been searching for another top 4D man, so Walsh would essentially be like third pair helper to
Yep.
help drive a pair. But at that price, I would not do that.
He's
My
currently playing with
lord.
Kahnpa on the second pair.
Kanpa's playing D, eh?
I like
Mm-hmm.
I like Philly's fuck the cap mentality and attitude, similar to what the Islanders have done. Just
It's
Ka-
fuck it.
risky.
We want to
It's
win. We're
risky.
spending money.
they'll have the money
Instead.
for it actually, because Kahnpa is expiring and he's getting paid $8.5 million.
He was one of the Florida guys where they signed him to $1 quintillion
Gotcha.
because, why not?
Right.
Yeah, I like the ad for Philly. I kind of, if I'm being honest, I hate this contract. I think this is going to age really badly in 3 years. And they're going to have to deal with this for like 3 extra years because they signed him for 6. Or 5, rather. Like,
Yeah.
it's risky.
Something I've noticed is that defensemen, when their physicals drop off, it hurts them a lot more than like a winger or a center.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Yeah, forwards with really shitty physicals, I think, stay viable for longer.
Yeah.
Defensemen, I don't know. They just tank.
Nice tank. Okay, another Tampa Montreal trade. Wow, another one.
You guys love each other.
We were just like chatting. I was in class and I was just chatting with him. He was just like, "Oh, what about this?" And I was like, "Oh, I could do that actually." Here's this. And he realized he had too many players on his reserve list, and so he sent me a couple ECHL plebs for nothing.
Banger deal. Blockbuster. Trade deadline.
Blockbuster,
Tampa wins
big
this
deal,
shit.
right?
Trade of the year.
Trade
For
deal.
sure.
Another deal. Oh man, I was just moving along with these trades. Jesus. All right.
You really were.
I acquired Novak from the Wild for a fifth and a fourth. I mean, I needed a 4C after the Rip Hen and a first for Matthews was something that we agreed to well beforehand. I just needed to move Ottinger beforehand. So
What the fuck? He's been great for you. What?
4C man.
This
Yeah,
is
he's
scam.
just been he's been chilling on my 4C spot.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
2
actually
points in
great
10
deal.
games isn't.
Yeah, but
a lot,
7.1
but,
AVR for 4C is fantastic.
Yeah, what? He never did this shit for me. Anyway, yeah, for me, this was just his job got stolen by Adam Berard, so I was like, fuck it, he's expiring. He doesn't even want to re-sign, so.
I
Fuck
think
it,
I
I'll
originally
get-
hit you up for Berard, so and then we were
Yeah,
just
originally it was
like,
Berard, and I was like, no, Berard is like working for me, so.
Novak's AVR is fake. He's won 75% of his faceoffs. That's not going to stay that way.
Something really crazy about Novak is his faceoffs. He's one of the best in the league at it.
Oh, is he? Interesting. So, all right.
Consistently, he was like a 60 for me.
75% is absurd, but yeah, I mean,
Of
I can see
course.
me working out.
He is a ridiculously good face-off guy, and I
75.
don't know why. He's not even at 20. He's just crazy at face-offs.
I might want to throw him on my PK then because whatever. Okay. Shroom acquires Joaquin Corvo for a second. Corvo is a Euro
In Europe.
transfer. Yeah.
Yes. He's
I don't
good.
know.
I consider doing this, honestly.
I can. I wish I did it after I saw it.
Yeah, same.
So I'm curious how this is allowed. Because I guess it's after.
When did he sign the contract? He had his rights. It was effectively
Yeah.
trading the rights.
Did he?
Yes,
Oh,
it was
Yeah.
the rights to Corvo.
Oh, that's the defenseman he was trying to. Wait.
Yeah.
How is Corvo on his team right now then?
Did they? Is it shifted over? Is Corvo
How the
even on his
fuck
team?
did that happen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Corvo
if
is
he
on the
couldn't
fucking
transfer to Buffalo. How was he then able to transfer to Calgary?
Huh?
Oh
We
shit.
found a what? The game broke. What? But yeah, this is. I mean,
That's cool.
I don't think he was ever going back to Buffalo. So
No.
this is just a tidy piece of business for the Flames. I think Corvo has the potential to be like a top 4 guy.
24 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, super capable, like passenger of a second pair, driver of a third pair type guy.
Yeah, that's kind of how I view him. Shot pref point man. Like he's not bad. He's
Not
not
bad.
bad by any stretch.
A little
I
much,
think it's
honestly, but it's also expiring this year, and RFA, so it's not like you're that worried about it.
Calgary's not in cap trouble by
No.
any stretch of the imagination, so
Already
they're chilling.
qualified him. Yeah.
Corvo wouldn't make my team though. I feel. Anyways, Jake Ottinger for a second if he plays a single
You
game in next
fucking
year.
again to Tampa,
Again
Montreal,
to Tampa. Again, no, I've been trying to sell Jake Ottinger for so long. Like when I first traded for Ottinger for Tierney in a first, which was the Red Wings first, which ouch. I only did it because I figured I'd be able to get more than a first for Ottinger. Whatever, get him signed because someone is going to need a 930 career goaltender, and
Yep.
no one wanted to trade a first for Jake Ottinger.
Yep. Notably, Ottinger has not played a game this season on
Yeah,
the
he is
Lightning.
on the Lightning yet. I don't think
the
he wants.
Lightning.
I don't think the Lightning want to play him this year, but
No, Montpetit is doing a good job
he's
of
still in
taking them down
perfect
a
fit,
hell.
right?
He's
And like
torn
Ottinger had a
Basketball.
rough October, November. Like he was down in the 890s after that, but 908 he's battled back a bit, but not what I was hoping for when I traded for him.
Only had fucking 3 losses, so it worked out fine.
It's more than Kirkby has. Anyways, up next, what I would consider the deal of the deadline, where I get Austin Matthews for Rapin and the Sabres first, which was previously Austin fucking Matthews, right?
You're already putting him in a fucking Habs jersey, but okay.
I mean, well, another former Leaf legend was once traded to the Habs in Matt Sundin at one point. So, but no, yeah, Austin Matthews has been sick with me too. 7 points in 7 games, 7.71 AVR on my third line.
Yeah,
Playing 3C.
Matthews is like 5 years old, but he is still obviously Austin Matthews. Like this is a fantastic pickup for a contender. I think a lot of these moves were kind of made in anticipation of this. I feel like flipping and the first for Matthews. This is a good move for both sides because Rapin is under control. Detroit, I don't know if they're going to be doing like that long of a rebuild. I feel like it might be more of like a retool type thing. And if that's what they're doing, Rapin should be with them the whole time. He's under contract for a while. He's still pretty young.
Yeah, I re-upped him.
And a first, that's what, 20th-ish, give or take?
Probably,
21st? It's not bad.
And this was kind of my fallback after the Morant, for when I offered Rapin and 2 firsts for Morant, and he told me no, which we'll get to the other end of Morant later. But this was my fallback, and I figured, well, it's Austin Matthews. How could you go wrong with getting Austin Matthews?
Yeah, old as fuck, still fantastic.
Still fantastic, and currently considering a contract from the Montreal Canadiens, by the way.
What, dude? He's really not going to retire? What?
I offered him. He didn't give me an ask, but he didn't go to my maximum on so that means he'd consider it. But it also could be one of those ones where he signs it and then retires immediately
Right.
following afterwards, which would
Yeah.
suck.
Yep. Uh, another Habs trade up next.
Another Habs trade. I mean, like I had all these trades lined up. I was just waiting on Ottinger to move, and
Yes.
once Ottinger moved, I was able to get everything I was going for. And I acquired Chech for the second I got for Barbero, because I figured I needed a backup. And well, Chech was decent enough backup. I felt, and I mean, AC's trying to get worse, so he gets an asset for an expiring goalie.
Yeah.
And then went and signed Mr. West.
I didn't think he had Mr. West already, but yeah.
Yeah, Mr.
okay.
West was already killing it in the New Jersey. This pragmatism. Yeah, this seemed a little steep for Chech for me. I don't actually like Chech. I think he's kind of dog shit, but he's a backup that is like okay. He can
Yeah.
volley when you're around if you really need him to.
I just wanted a safety blanket and whatever. It's a second round pick. There's like a
If Kirkby gets hurt in the playoffs for the 15th time, yeah.
exactly.
Well,
Like,
hey, if you were comfortable with Gegenschatz as your backup, you're fine with Chechelev.
right.
Yeah, Chech is better than that.
Yeah.
It's true. It's the cup final with Gegenschatz at sub 900.
Yep,
Alrighty.
classic.
Winnipeg, Florida makes a pretty big deal. Cole Perfetti going to Florida along with Rutger McGroarty and Ben McCartney. Is it Ben McCartney?
Yes, old ass Ben McCartney.
Old ass Ben McCartney for a second Bouillon and Louvel.
So I'm gonna say that my secondary winner is the Panthers because I love this trade for them and I love the other trade they did. I think they've been we talk about it constantly with this team that they're not as punchy, I guess. They don't have that offensive scoring punch that we kind of expected. So let's pick up Cole Perfetti, who is sure he's like 5,000 years old, but
6.1 for
he
ADR.
struggled at sea. But I think you can just move him to the wing.
Probably.
You could just have him play wing. Or like McGroarty is like, yeah, McGroarty's too old. He's a minor leaguer. Realistically, this is just second to guys to like kind of B specs for Perfetti. And I think that is a good pickup because hell, like I think Perfetti might be willing to resign even. And he's not like that old. I'm shocked he started this port. Florida should consider a coaching change. Everyone on this team
Perfetti's very ambitious. He's not gonna resign.
Either way, though, I like this for Florida. I like it for Winnipeg too. I think it's another thing of what we're talking about where you avoid the sunk cost fallacy. They had added a little bit and they were like, this isn't working. Let's just sell. Like we're trash. Yeah, this isn't working, and I think that's smart.
And like Louvel for a 7th round pick doesn't look too bad.
Oh, Lovell for yeah, he's not bad. He's not high PA, but everything else looks kind of good. He looks like one of those guys who ends up being like a turret type scorer. Like he'll score if you put a good playmaker next to him.
This is a really good trade for the Jets. Wait, like Perfetti is if you can get him going, he's good, I guess. But he's a playmaker. I don't know. Maybe he'll put up some points. He's probably good in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Career high of 70 points, which is actually a lot less than I would expect for Perfetti. He's kind of been broken for a while now.
A lot of these trades are just like this is a win-win in my eyes. I think it's really smart of Winnipeg to just be like, fuck it, we're not making the playoffs. We're close, but we're not making it.
Oh wow.
They're going to be like 10th, 11th in the West, realistically, which like fine. Then just sell off, get some seconds, get some firsts. Fuck it,
Yeah, very
former
good deal. I like that Philly second.
I love it for both teams. I think it's like a beauty fit, like really good fit.
I just think it's overpaying for Perfetti. I think it's the value there is like more than a first. It's like 2 firsts.
You think
like the guys they traded that much?
Yeah.
I do.
Brienne's
Damn.
a second round pick, so like I guess you can see it as like 2 seconds and a 7th because like the picks were just recent, But
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't actually love. Well, I'm okay with both of the specs picked. I don't think either of them are like crazy, so I kind of think it's like fair value.
I have to see the coach report from Boulain, I think.
Yeah,
But if he has cons, then it's a really bad trade for Florida.
My
interesting.
thing for Bouillane has him as a 3-star guy, and I didn't say anything on con. So probably mid.
Mid con, yeah, that's comp is Ville Lofgren, which is not a bad comp.
His card looks like ass for me, C minus D, but he looks like a very easily playable, like maybe a 3C.
Yeah,
If your team is like up and coming and kind of weak there with C depth, I think he's probably worth this. Like those two specs are probably worth a second, so it's 2 seconds, like a first-ish value.
Perfetti.
Bouillane ranks
I
8th
mean,
on their
Lavelle's
press
good.
specs.
Like, we get
Yeah, that's good.
Ball's
so
not good or
I
bad. Yeah,
don't.
I think he's like a second line player. Maybe.
interesting.
I would
I'm
not be
Maybe
that
lower.
high.
third.
I'm way lower.
I'm way lower on
Yeah,
him too. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he ever makes
Maybe
it.
he'll scout it again.
I'd be surprised if
I
either of
I
these guys make it. Honestly,
I also value. I think Boyan makes it. Perfetti, I also value higher than you. I actually quite like him. Even if he can't play C anymore, I think you just move him to the wing. And we talked about it a couple times that Florida's need is actually not at center; it's at wing. Really, like
Yeah, so
they,
it's C depth that can play, or wing depth that can play C if you need him.
if you really need to.
what was the
Yeah.
comp you guys had for Jean Bouillane? Because I have Tobias Altonen on the Blues, and Tobias Altonen looks dog shit.
I have
Oh,
Billy Lofgren on the Canes, who is like an okay, like a pretty good 3C
Oh
for a
yeah,
line.
the other guy has him. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. So he's in between
yeah.
dog shit and mid. Okay.
I think you got two mid-6 players that are 20, 21 years old, and a pretty good second this year. So I think that's like
It's
20 to
also
Right.
Cole
25
Perfetti, right?
overall.
So
Yeah, 20 to 25 overall for Perfetti
right.
is
It
pretty good. I
depends how
think it's
you
a good.
value Perfetti, really.
Well, I think no matter how you value Perfetti, it's how Florida values Perfetti. In which case, it's great. It's a good deal for both
Well, I
sides.
don't think Perfetti's like, oh, now Florida has Perfetti. Watch out! Like, I don't think that's the case, right?
Yeah. I think I like their other deal better, to be fair, but I do like this one for
Yeah,
Florida. I like
it
Perfetti a lot.
bent me over the barrel.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just
I
saying,
like that deal.
I gave up Perfetti and Turcotte for just firsts, right? And so I expected. I know I like kind of undersold Turcotte, and probably undersold this guy too. But I don't know. I don't. I think that's. I don't think this guy is gonna make Florida really good.
I don't think this is a needle mover in either direction, honestly.
Yeah, still, I think it's a good deal for both sides. Like, I don't know how Florida could have spent those assets better. Where it's like,
It's not the assets that they spent; it's the cap they spent. And this
true.
that kills me. You know,
Okay.
that's $12 million that you could have spent somewhere else if you had. You know, I don't know what other assets they could have had to move, but the opportunity cost of the 12 million is what kills it for me for the
Is he
Panthers.
UFA though?
He
Yeah.
is a UFA, yeah. So
Well,
it's only just this
that's
year.
fair.
I get it, but like you could have added other big, big money guys. I feel like
Two
I,
mid-6 potential specs for a rental though.
I
Plus the
don't
I,
think
second.
they're mid-6 specs, man. I think they're nobodies. But
I'm a
to each his
lot.
own.
Yeah, we'll see, I suppose. But as is, I like this for Florida, but I also like this for Winnipeg. I think this is just a good move for
Yeah,
both.
Winnipeg getting assets for this is good for them. You know, even if
yeah.
the assets aren't the greatest.
I,
Interesting return on this one, though.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
I think if you put him as a winger and find the right line mates, he can sim like maybe 8 and be really good. But as a center, I don't think he's gonna help them a
Did
lot.
the
Maybe
game fucking crash, by the way?
it
I
did.
think so.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, next is Sequoia Jones for Riley St. Louis and Chase Scheidel.
Are we gonna need the
This
game for this one?
I don't think so. it's
do
it's
we?
Sequoia Jones, Riley St. Louis. It's Sequoia Jones is Sequoia Jones. Like, I can find out what
This
I
is
have for Sequoia
this is
Jones.
the most fucking AHL trade ever. This is like a third string goalie for an 8-9D. That's what it is. Like
Jones has not played a single game in the NHL this year, so, or at least he
yeah,
hadn't
like
until right before this sim.
All right, who's in VNC? Because you're making my shit lag.
I'm not. Okay.
Okay, my shit's just lagging.
I joined real quick and left.
I found that if someone else is in VNC while I am, my shit just lags.
It's worse.
I mean, I've been pretty vocal about what I feel about VNC, so.
Well, back to the Perfetti trade.
Sure.
I had Perfetti on my team for a long time,
Yeah.
and I had a hard time getting him going as a C.
Good career high of 70 points. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's really good for say. If you give me a 70,
Yeah.
like that's so good. Like I think that's so good.
That
It's the
also was
top,
like a
you know,
decade ago.
yeah, it's the top center in the league. You know, like you're not gonna find. There's not if your centers hit 70 points,
Second.
they're in
That's
the
a
top
second
30
seed.
or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
No, that's maybe top 30, but ideally on
Yeah,
like a
so
cup
that
contender, probably 2 seed.
okay, but what I'm saying is, if it's just if you're talking about strictly ranking centers, you're in
Yeah.
the top 30. That's a number one center,
Yeah.
hypothetically.
Yeah. No, yeah, Perfetti's kind of weird because he seems like one of those guys that needs kind of specific circumstances. Not quite a guy who can like carry scrubs, but I think if Florida's able to get him in those circumstances, which they should be, when their team's healthy and with the pickups they just had, I think they'll be able to get a good chunk out of Perfetti, enough to make this worth it. Is kind of how I view it. They should be able to get
Should be
a
able to.
good result out of him.
Yeah. Hopefully that he turns around his what was it 6.14
6.1
AVR.
start. Yeah,
Yeah.
3.7 games.
You know. Again, it's not a lot of assets they gave up. I just think it's the opportunity cost. Okay.
Yeah.
Gus
I'm highest
Renfrew.
in this
Sorry.
deal.
Yeah, to each his own. Penguins acquired Gus Renfrew and Nicholas Sema for Gunners Lavoie and Dominique Robbins. Like, we just saw the Rangers trade for a goal scoring winger because they said they didn't have enough, and then they trade away Gus Renfrew. That doesn't necessarily compute for me, honestly.
Yeah. I like Lavoie better than Renfrew in general. It's just like we talked about opportunity cost a bit. Why add Genther then trade Renfrew when I think Renfrew can just be Genther?
You
Like
also acquired
he can just
Poiser
do
as
that.
well, right? Because you got
Yeah,
Ginther
but
and
like
Poiser.
the thing with Genther is he's the cap hit. So what you
Right.
could have done is get Kosior, don't get Lavoie, and get Otter.
Yeah.
I feel like that's better for you. I feel like you come out of that ahead. Um, I I just don't. I like Lavoie, so like in a vacuum, I think this is a win for the Rangers. But in the grand picture, I don't. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't compute. Is how I put it. It's a little weird.
Sweller says Lavoie wants to walk too, so I mean,
Yes, he wants out, which is
okay.
like he'll hit UFA. Somebody will pay him too much. He
Do we
seems like the type to get really overpaid.
do we know anything about Sema or Robbins?
Yeah,
We'd have to go
Robbins
in
is
the
a
game.
former Shark draft pick.
Seema's a pretty decent two-way winger, I think.
Okay, so like an upgrade and Renfrew for like a decent spec and Lavoie, like okay.
Oh, Robbins isn't a spec anymore. I think he's 24.
I, I
25.
think Seema's not a spec either. I think he's like 28.
All right, yes. So like the main thing of this move is Renfrew and Lavoie. Like that is the main thing.
Well, Robbins is pretty solid. I mean, he's a very well-rounded lefty, 28 years old.
Let's game back
He's
up.
scratched. Yeah, game's up. He's scratched right now, but yeah, he hasn't played a whole lot. Pittsburgh played him 28 games, 10 points, 44 games, 13 points, 48 games, 11 points, but he's been right around that 7 AVR, so he's a competent, like, third pair guy.
I'd probably play him higher than third pair, honestly. But I mean, as I said, we were talking about earlier with like a physical defenseman, like the low speed and acceleration already, it concerns me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like he should be higher than just a 7 AVR, just from his technical and mentals, and just by
Agreed.
looking at that.
It doesn't look like it's a guy that MZ really needed, but that's decent insurance for injury.
Yeah.
Also super cheap.
Like
Yep.
For me, this is kind of a wash of a trade. Like
Yep.
this is a complete wash to me. I just think it like I guess I like it better for the Pens given the
The flaws
composition
in the
of
walk.
the roster.
That too.
Like they need some guys who can like put up points, and Renfrew's been really good for them so far. So we'll see.
I don't hate the SEMA contract either. It's he signed until 2039, so that's this season and two more. Like you're doing well if trading expiring assets. If both Robbins and Lavoie are expiring assets, getting anything for them and that help your team currently that are more
Yeah,
contract neutral is probably a pretty big W, honestly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Robbins is signed for next year too, but still, I do like that picking up those goal scoring players.
Mm, I would agree with that. I think this is pretty nice for Pittsburgh. They especially Renfrew. They needed, especially after they traded Edwardson. You look at this team and it's like 90% all around guys. So they really needed a guy who can just put the puck in the net, and that's exactly what Renfrew is. So I think a win for Pittsburgh, not a huge one, but a win nevertheless.
Honestly, at wise, I think Renfrew has better ads than McDonough. Just the production on it hasn't been as good for some reason.
I think that's mentals. I think that's like hiddens. McDonough's hiddens
Probably,
are like
yeah.
quite good, I believe.
I mean, his speed also isn't as good, but pretty
Yeah,
not the
speed matters.
right. It does matter. Okay, Jets and Jackets made a trade. The Jets acquired a Av second, a Jackets fourth, and Gravel for the Jackets for Maverick Bork and Lapointe.
Yeah. I have one, I suppose, key issue with this, which is I don't actually like Bork. I think he's kind of cooked.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Bork.
He's
I
very
was a
cooked,
fan
yeah.
of Bork when Grum was trying to trade him, but yeah, he's cooked now.
Yeah. Like I was briefly in negotiations for Bork, but I just don't think he has it anymore. Like I guess we'll see, obviously. But this seems like a lot for a guy who I just don't like. I obviously could be wrong. And Lapointe is just like a roster spot. He's nobody. He's complete garbage. So realistically, this is a second, a fourth, and Gravel, whatever,
He's a
who's
former
like a
first round D man.
former first, but
Second.
early
Pretty good look,
second, not bad.
pretty good looking player.
He's not bad. Yeah, like this is a pretty high price for a guy like Maverick Bork to me.
The,
Like I just don't think he's
the comp
anything.
I have on Gravel is Adam Peterson of the Carolina Hurricanes, and Peterson looks dog shit to me as well. Has one tech
Oh,
that's green.
his comp is terrible for me too. It's poor man's Riku Irola.
I have another one that says that, yeah, and that's better than that's better than Peterson. So,
Jesus.
yeah, no,
Like
Peter Kreinen, I have
so
one. I have one for a Peter Kreinen comp as well, and Kreinen's on my
uh,
team and been pretty okay.
yeah, Gravel, it doesn't seem like anything special, but even then, this seems a little rich
Why?
for Maverick.
Right.
We'll see if the Jackets can get good production out of him. But even if you look at how he's played this last little while, I'm just not that high on him. I assume he's going to be playing bottom 6 minutes on this roster.
No.
Uh, and realistically, they just needed a playmaker who's not ass. But it just seems like a bit much to
They
me.
have 2 years of control on him, which would be nice if he wasn't
So
fading
fucking
into
old,
Fading.
yeah.
But again, like
Um,
worst
I
case
mean,
scenario, throw him in the minors. You don't worry
he
about it.
might put up like 0.5 per game on the fourth line as a winger, to be
Yeah.
honest. And that would be
Yeah.
really, really good for them.
But I think that's pretty rich for that production. I think you can get better than that for around the same price, especially for a winger. Like
Yeah, maybe.
I think paying this price, you want him to play center. Your goal is
Right.
that he plays like 4C, and I don't know if he can do that. I guess we'll see.
They got Pearson for that, no? Or whatever. They
yeah,
I
got
think they
a
They
did
bunch
got
of
a
get
guys.
ton
person.
of
Yeah.
Cs, yeah.
Yeah.
They
Like their
got a,
team is just stacked now. Like that's a
yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't think it's all super all in, but They have a really good team.
Yeah, I like their roster, but I liked Person for them a lot more than I like this, just because I like Person as a player more than I like Bork. I kind of hate Bork. Like, this is just me not liking the player, I think. I don't like Maverick Bork.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still 0.5 per game, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Gus acquires, let's see, Ilya Meyer, 2 second-round picks, both the Duck second-round picks, which I think is pretty clutch in this. Gordy
It's
Webster
fun.
and Hunter Todd for Stenman Lysell, and this one of the picks is a first-round pick if Stenman resigns.
So I hate this deal for San Jose. Go ahead, Angus.
No. I want to hear.
I
Give it to
I
me.
don't know why you're selling these guys. I just don't like it. I the direction is what I don't like. I think the Meyer pickup is okay to be like a fourth, but I don't like selling both of these guys in the position your team is in, especially because you moved Stelestin for Wallstedt. So to me, you seem like the direction of the team seems a little bipolar, where it's like at one level you're flipping guys like Stenman and all them to get younger, and you're getting Celestin. And at the other, you're then flipping Celestin for Wallstedt, who's like 30. He's old is the
34.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like fading. So I'm like torn. I don't really like the direction of the Sharks. I think
I'm
that's
yeah, and I've heard it both ways. Like, uh, I've discussed in DMs with a couple of GMs that I don't want to make the conference finals unless I can win the cup. Otherwise, I have to give up this wings first for Wallstedt as a condition. The reason that I got Wallstedt was because he was cheaper than what I got out of Ottinger. Um, he was like half the price of what I got for Ottinger, what I got for Havelwood. So I'm acquiring wins to keep my fans and board happy. I'm selling players that are 33, 34, especially expiring Stenman for future assets. And I'm going to attempt to get 2 or 3 more years window out of a UFA goalie, or just sell the season, falling back on having my 2038 first next season, and try to draft some that's worth flipping for a young goalie. Like the perfect opportunity would have been the guy that Edmonton traded for, like someone like that. They're not always available on the market, but to have a top asset or to have multiple assets to throw at a player like that will extend our window that we wouldn't have had we kept Ottinger or Celestin, or even if we keep Wallstedt, or if we had kept Havelwood. Like, I didn't want to just win for 2 seasons. I would try to win for all of 2040.
I was one of your GMs that you were talking to in DMs, and the way I was with it was like, well, if you're selling, this is a great trade. Honestly, I think Lysell for Meyer, 1 for 1. I take Meyer over Lysell, especially because Lysell's old as shit now. I think if you throw Meyer on the wing, he'd probably be pretty awesome. I think his low speed's hurting him at center, and throw him on the wing, he might be a better. And then Stenman for 2 seconds and maybe a first is a pretty big win as well for an expiring asset. If you were selling, I get this; it's a good move for you. But if you're not selling, but if you're worried about trading a Detroit first if you make the conference final, I mean, if that's your concern, I get why. I suppose.
I mean, it, in all honesty, I probably can't even fulfill that condition because the pick is going to hit the clock before the condition has
True.
a chance to be met. So I'm probably going to have to work that out with Joe on the side.
We probably should
But
have.
all things considered, that, I've heard it from like Grum was like, dude, fuck that pick. Who cares about a top 8 pick or a top 6 pick if you have a chance to win the cup? That's what you're there for. But realistically, I didn't think that I had a chance to win the cup. Like, look at LA, look at Dallas, Montreal. I would probably have to wind up facing Montreal or one of the other harder hitting Eastern Conference teams if I even made it to the Stanley Cup. So I didn't think the team had it. hearing some of the more advanced metrics where it's like, yeah, you're like one of the best shots on goal teams. I don't see that in a lot of the box scores. I look at it, I'm like, oh wow, we shot the puck 28 times. Like I'm falling back on my goalie, and at the start of the season I didn't have that with Tierney. I didn't have this 920 like 20 win 3 loss start to the season, so I had to go out and get a guy who would bolster my wins, make the fans happy, make the board happy, so I can improve the team in the free agency period where I'm going to have a $16 million cap that I can spend because of the extension to Rautiala. If I want to go sign another top 6C and push all these guys down one, or sign a top 6C who I slot in at 3C and then try to sign an $8 million aging Carter Hart, I can do that. 2 seasons I can make it work.
300-year-old. Yep.
This is the only recent trade of yours that that I do like. The only thing I don't like about it is that you didn't get a guaranteed first, which
Yeah.
tends to happen a lot with your trades.
Well,
because you add in all those
the
conditions.
well, the conditions in the other trades were more like I was getting help for the most part in the Islanders deal because I had to move a contract. He was getting a couple of players that can help shelter young players that he's trying to grow, so it made sense, and I was able to get value back, whether it was the first or a second and a third, like based on very reasonable conditions that I didn't even expect him to meet. So, like, I got benefit in salary that I didn't have to waive Stenman, and now here I get more assets for Stenman and the end of that. So it's like, you can see in Mark's acceptance, like, intense negotiations. We talked about this for like 2 weeks. Just Lysell, and then he moved the Flyers second, so that wasn't available. I was trying to get 3 seconds for Lysell straight up, or a first and a second, and then none of that worked out. And so I was like, hey, if you're still looking for a D-man, you have all this cap, Stenman and Lysell for 2 seconds, 2 specs, and a conditional first if he signs. I wanted that first, but he's kind of in the same boat as me next season, where he might not be able to extend some of the guys that he's got. Stenman and what's the other player that he's got that he needs to extend?
Konovalov? Is it?
No, Konovalov is
No.
good.
Yeah, he's
It's
got him RFA. It's Perfetti.
yeah, Perfetti just picked up. I don't think he'll be able to extend him. He
Nah, I
has
don't think-
Steves, who's fading probably too much to even bother extending.
None
Yeah,
of the
those
people
are
that you want
guys.
on this team I would really be that concerned about extending, except for perhaps Stenman. But
The discussion was he might be in the same position as me next season, where he's got to fall back on having that 38 first in case things go south this summer. So I understood that. I would have liked to have gotten all 3 seconds, both the Ducks and the Flyers this year. And I would have been happy with just that and not so much the prospects, but I kind of fell in love with Hunter Todd a little bit. Like, I need a right winger, I need a goal scoring forward. He's got second line potential, I think. He doesn't look great right now, but he does have second line PA.
Hunter Todd, let me look at Todd.
I'm lower on Todd than you too.
I'm
yeah.
super
The
low on
thing
Todd.
is,
Yeah.
I'm with Drew in that this is a fine deal if you're selling. I think this is a lot of assets to get for Stenman. I think this is a lot of assets to give for Stenman. I think the condition is kind of perfect because if you're Florida, yeah, you'd love to keep Stenman. Like, yes, let me hold on to this guy. Let me push my window another year, right? But yeah, I guess we'll see how it turns out in general because I just haven't liked the direction of your team in general this whole season. I think you were with Colorado taking a bit of a backward step. I think you were poised to really take the West, like completely take the West, and I think you've kind of gone for a more conservative approach in general as a franchise, and I wouldn't is kind of how I'm not a flaw, obviously I could be wrong, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, this is kind of the discussion me and Jordan had earlier about how my Kings franchise went in FCH. doing the opposite of that here. I'm acquiring assets. I'm not burning the assets to the ground. I feel like we've got a really, really good prospect pool. Like, I don't have any top line prospects coming up much at all. Like, Struthers was the biggest prospect that we have coming up, and we got him from the Isles. And then the rest are like complementary pieces that I can fit around Routiel and Chambers. So I'm just trying to build a stable of assets that I can move for that one or two cornerstone additions that can help elevate the future of the team. And it's either going to be we sign a center or we sign a goalie in UFA and then make that move and then have a greater window than we would have had with Havilid.
Yeah, I mean, I like picking up minors. I think that really fixes some things for you. But like now, the problem is, who are your wingers? Like,
All
who?
young kids: Struthers, Stokes,
Yeah.
Lewis.
Well,
Uh,
it depends on if those guys are like good enough or not, right? I don't know if they're
yeah,
maybe they.
I mean,
Stokes is probably the only one out of those. Maybe Schmidt as well, but most of them.
Struthers is having the best season out of all of them.
Yeah,
Schmidt,
Struthers ain't
Schmidt
bad.
is also a solid winger too.
Well, he's
Um,
28.
right. But a lot of your, I mean, like I'm not terribly sold on your winger depth either. I understand if you again, as your kind of general consensus on this is, if it's a good move if you're selling, but I wasn't convinced in why you were selling because, what last playoffs you lost what conference final or was it the round before?
Conference final with Routiel out for half of it, which
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
like
Honestly,
buddy,
well,
with Keller taking the Avs and burning them to the ground.
well, you
That's
can't
you.
really compare. You can't really compare this roster to that one because we didn't have the cap to retain all of that roster. We had
Who
to
did you
move.
lose? I know you lost a goalie, but I feel Wallstedt for Rogers probably a better fit for you, anyways. Who else did you
Well,
lose?
okay, so if if you take it into consideration that we lost Ottinger but gained Wallstedt, we are net neutral. Same
Yeah,
cap,
so
same amount of
net
players.
neutral, and net
And we
neutral to
had
being the second best team in the West. Like
we had
what? That's
so
kind of where
now
I'm at with
so
it.
okay, so now we had to move Stenman, we had to move Hughes, we had to move Lysell, we had to move all those players to be in the position we're in now.
That's where I disagree with you. I don't think
why
you
had
had
to?
to move. Right, like buddy, you were right there. Like what? You were like one step away from it. Like why? I don't
The,
understand. Right.
the thing is too is that you could have rode Haviland because Haviland, what is Haviland's cap hit, Joe? It's like 4 mil.
28. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
fuck.
less, like 3.8 or something.
Yeah, you didn't
He's
have to
so cheap.
dump Hughes for almost not almost nothing. You got decent
So
return for Hughes, but
after moving Urov, ignore Ottinger because if I could have just let him walk for nothing. After moving Urov and Havilid, I still had to move De Silva for cap.
Yeah,
how much were
that's
you over the
fine.
cap last season?
No, that's
I wasn't
fine.
over the cap last season.
It's just guys got raises, but
Okay.
like those are in my eyes complementary pieces, and I think that you could have continued on the same trajectory rather than going this route. Is
So
kind of how I feel
so
about it.
Urov and Havilid are complementary pieces.
I don't
No,
think Havlicek,
Haviland you
Ottinger
didn't need to get rid of in the first
would have been
place.
a
Yeah.
complimentary.
Ottinger to me is who I
Yeah,
view
and you
as
got
After
good
complimentary.
return for that. You got the Detroit pick. You know.
That's
After
money. Yeah.
moving Urov and Havilid, I still had to cut cap.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at here. After moving my starting goalie and probably my best third line player, I still had to cut cap.
So
So
the
I
thing to
had
me,
to take this direction, or I had to like waive Stenman.
But then why did you get Wallstat for adding? You added $7 million when you added Wallstat over Havlid. That's where this isn't making sense to me, right?
Because he was cheaper. Because the acquisition was cheaper.
Yeah, but he's cheaper because you're adding $7 million in cap and then complaining about why you're over the cap, right?
No, I didn't complain about being
Right.
over the cap. I was just factually over
Right,
the cap.
you were factually over the cap, and you had to sell because you were over cap, but you added $7 million. This is just a fundamental difference in philosophy. Like you kind of hedged your bets on, potentially winning a cup here, but I don't understand why you wanted to take a big step back, and that's kind of just where we're at. And like, if you're on this mission to sell like this trade, the Stenman and Lysell, you did really well because the Ducks aren't good this year. That second round pick is almost a first. Like it's about as close as you can. Right. Jordan, I'm not sure how high you are on your Ducks next year, but I'm not necessarily sold on them yet. So that 38 second might be a really good second round pick too. Like
it will be it won't be a lottery pick.
40, I think, is probably what I'd guess.
100% guaranteed. I'm in the playoffs next year.
Ooh.
There we
That's
go.
actually what I told Mark. I was like, honestly, I believe in Jordan's ability to turn this team into the playoffs next year, and I didn't buy that pick as high as he was trying to sell it. So I was
Break
able
the
to convince him-
15-year fucking drought or whatever the Ducks are on.
So I kind of convinced him into giving me the 2 specs. Webster is a high-con goalie. He doesn't.
Is he
look-
Hycon?
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's
look
Hycon
amazing, but
mediocre comp. He's like
yeah, he's a backup. Keegan Hayden.
his comp for me deck.
I have Zedek as well as his comp. That's not a high PA.
No,
Poor man.
I have poor man Zedek.
Like,
Oof,
it's
yeah.
ugly.
I have between
very-
2 and 3 stars, so that's very maybe an NHLer.
Yeah, definitely a reason that I spoke towards Todd and not Webster in the trade acceptance. Like,
Fair.
need a goal scoring forward. Yeah, he probably is just depth. Like, don't expect him to be anything higher than maybe third line, potentially second, but it's highly unlikely. But I think he's at least an NHL goal scoring winger at some point. Which I
Yeah,
need.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be
I can see that.
shocked.
And yeah, I do Lysell for Meyer, just 1 for 1 any day. You know, I think you won them that part.
Yes.
And like Meyer as a winger, I feel would be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, but you don't have any center depth, right? So
I could call up like.
you have Ben Bajol playing on your NHL roster, buddy. You know,
Rip Lagerberg in memoriam.
Rip
Peace
Lagerberg.
be
Like if
upon him.
Lagerberg stuck around, man, like it might have, yeah. But like you also have a UFA, and you have off-season add on to it, and you have Meyer for years, whereas in Lysell was already 34. I get it, I do, and I get wanting to like get assets for Stenman if you're not sold on your team, but I don't understand why you weren't sold on your team. It's just where we're at with it, you know.
Yeah, well, I was, if I could have just waived Stenman and felt like my team was good enough, I would have done that to start the season and kept those guys. But now I have firsts and assets and still have a pretty good team, so I'm not unhappy at all. We'll see if I get lucky in UFA and sign a goalie.
Fair.
Or if I wind up spending all that money on a 3C.
Are there even any good goalies set to hit UFA this
Carter Hart's probably your
Carter
best
Hart.
bet. Yeah,
Jesper Wallstedt.
Carter Hart, Wallstedt,
You know
Callie Klang is your top 3.
Ooh, Clang, not
That
bad.
wouldn't be bad, yeah. I feel like we can make a very, not mid, but like a very sub, like, star goalie work on this team.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. Like any good team can get a star
You
goal.
got Chambers Arciala. I think they
Yeah,
can
you'll be
drag it
fine.
up.
You'll be Chambers Ratiella. You'll be fine with that. But currently right now, what your goalie that you have signed is Larry Tierney and Usta. You know.
And this is why I have that first next year that I don't
Touche.
quite want to move.
All right. Anyways,
I thought about it. We talked about it. Not happening.
Last big deal of the deadline is up next.
Rudy Morant for my first, the Jackets second, a Konikov, and a conditional second. Honestly,
So
I thought Alex was taking his price to the grave, and keep getting assets for it and not panicking at the end of it for like selling them for super nothing. Good on him.
yeah,
I mean, I felt like this was about the base value that Morant should have been worth.
Probably, yeah.
yeah. This seems normal to me.
Yeah.
Like first, second, conditional second, and a Kotnikov who's like a B spec. This is kind of an L for Alex solely because he rejected Repend 2 firsts. Like,
Yep.
that was better. That's a better package. That's simply better.
Rejected it and was just like, I'm not giving them away. I'm like, oh, okay. To each his own.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, obviously, good on Carolina to get a pretty good haul for a pretty good fucking player. Good on Dallas for
Getting the fish.
if you look at these picks, these are the picks they accrued by selling guys they didn't need earlier in the deadline.
Sure.
Yep.
So really, really tidy business by fucking Dallas. Really slick. And they get like Liliamo. So at the end of the day, if you look at what Dallas did, let's see. What they did realistically at this point was they got Liliamo. They gave up Person, Genther, Kosior for Liliamo and Morant. That's what it is. That's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
Win.
Yep.
Win. Big win.
Pretty solid.
Very big win.
Tidy business.
And one of those seconds is conditional. They might even get a second back for that. So if he doesn't stay, which I don't think he will. So realistically, Liliamo, Morant, second for Genther, Kosior, Person. I think Dallas really improves their team with that.
100% agree. Like, it's obvious in their team performance. Like, I don't want to say some of it was addition by subtraction, but like they got better before they even brought Morant in. He's
Yeah.
only played 3 games for him. He's only got 1 point, 6.33 AVR. He's +2. He built the right unit around what he needed. He needed that center. He didn't need those sunk cost forwards that he probably shouldn't have invested in the first place. But he brought it back around to a positive and got the players he needed. Like Lil Jamo, perfectly fine replacement for the forwards that he gave up, and he's only 23.
And he has Lil Jamo on his fourth line currently, playing with
Yeah,
Elmore.
that's what he is. Hell yeah. No, fucking
Don Elmore. Don Elmore's had a pretty solid season for being Don Elmore. 15,
Honestly,
15 points in 29 games.
what a
Seven
game for an
what?
enforcer.
Enforcer with 7 penalty minutes. The fuck is this
Dog
enforcer?
shit of-
Bullshit. That's
Dog,
an
send him
enforcer.
to the fucking moon. He sucks, little baby.
Fucking wuss.
Seriously. No, I mean, yeah, tidy work for Dallas. Decent for Carolina. The only reason it's not good is because it's very public that they had a better offer that they kind of got greedy on, which means they lost assets just out of greed, which is a
Right.
little sad.
Yeah, I offered him 2 firsts straight up, no conditions.
Yeah, which
And he said he wanted the deal, but he wanted an NHL player back, and I couldn't do it.
yeah, which like, yeah, Kotnikov is an NHL winger. He's really not bad. I quite like Kotnikov. He's low con, shoot pref all around center. Like that's what he is. Comp is Hendrix Lapierre, so he's good.
He'd be good, yeah.
Good winger, yeah.
Yeah, this is a good player. I was asking for a Kotnikov a couple of years back. The Rangers wouldn't give
Oh,
it
yeah?
to me. It was for Roslovic. I think the offer was like third a Kotnikov, and he was like, I don't want to give up a Kotnikov. And I was like, okay, fine. But-
Who did you wind up selling Roslovic to, or did you just wind up
Nobody.
eating it? Okay.
I just winded up eating because everyone was a baby
I got PLD from you that year, right?
for like a third.
For
Yeah,
like nothing, but
I don't mind keeping those guys sometimes. The point is, yeah, it's a good deal. Morant has had kind of a weird start with Dallas. Really, he's had kind of a weird year, which I think is part of why his value went down. As a whole, he's struggled this year. We'll see how he does on Dallas if they can get him going with some goal scorers. I think Morant needs a very specific type of player to really excel. But theoretically, in my eyes, that player is like Koivunen exactly. So, like, this should work.
should work.
He needs like a winger that can stick handle, is kind of how I see it. Which,
Stu Cohen
yeah,
is 17 stick handling. Look at that.
either of these dudes, I think you pair one of those guys with Morant. That
He has
shit is
both
sexy.
paired right now.
Oh, sexy. Like, I mean, you got to find the fit before the playoffs and see how it goes. Obviously,
Right.
I mean, Dallas is Milmore for Hart. I'm not even joking. 930. What the fuck? This is the best goalie season I've seen. But yeah, realistically, we'll see if it works out. Obviously, it's expensive for a rental for second at Kotnikov. But yeah, if you look at it in the grand scheme, Genther, Kosior, and Person for a second Morant and Liliamo. That's what they did. And I think that
It's
is
tidy
Smooth
business.
operating. Yep.
slick. Yeah.
Okay, another wild trade. Joel Farabee is acquired for Dakota Russo, sorry, rights to Jeremy Fuller,
Fuller.
and a third round pick. I mean, Fuller was spelled in the Jeremy was spelled in the French way, so you know.
You'd think he's French. No, he's from like Boston.
Ah, fucking wicked pissa. Jeremy Fuller.
Jeremy Fuller. Yeah. Uh, so the main asset we talked about in this deal is Fuller. His comp isn't good, but he's high con. And if you look at his stats in the University of Notre Dame right now, he has a 930 there. He's lost 2 games, so his rep is high. He's got good con. He's something. He's
Second
like
round picks.
probably a
That's pretty
backup.
decent draft pick capital used
Late
on him too.
second,
Yeah,
yeah,
still,
yeah.
still solid.
Very late seconds. But yeah, no, like realistically, that was the main piece of this deal. Russo is simply not developing. I'm essentially this is a reclamation project for St. Louis. They've been trying a lot of those this year,
Yeah, they
and a
love
third is a
those.
third.
This
Yeah,
was a
they've been.
perfect trade for them, honestly.
It's good for them. I thought Farabee would resign. He's kind of making me panic because now he says he doesn't want to, so that's good.
It's always fun.
Fuck. I just needed wingers with any scoring talent. My shooting percentage was regressing too much, and I was like, "Fuck it! If nobody will buy Draisaitl from me, I'll just pick up a guy for cheap, a decent winger for cheap." So, eh,
He hasn't put in a game yet for you. I probably should
nope.
scratch. Sorry, I meant to. All right.
Then the Fabro flip for the third with
Fa-
Pittsburgh.
mentioned it earlier, but
Yep.
yeah, so
Again, just clean business.
good on them to pick up and not realize and to realize that they were not going to be on a playoff team, and you know quickly fix their problem they created. I suppose maybe not created, but you know went for.
Yeah. Realistically, this is the replacement for that one dude they traded to New York. I already forgot his name. Robbins.
Oh yeah,
Rubens.
shit. I forgot about him too.
This is basically the exact replacement for him. So functionally, that is them giving up a third in that trade to get a replacement, which like fine. But the East at the wild card end is so fucking weak that Pittsburgh is really pretty fucking comfortably in the playoffs. And we'll see if they can put up a fight against Columbus, really, because that's who it looks like.
Fabro's been sick with him too so far. It's 3 games, but he has an 8.33 AVR and 11 shots in his 3 games.
Sustainable.
Very sustainable. 0% shooting percentage. All right.
Classic.
Caps and Canes made a deal. Ufco for our first.
A first and a guy who, because the game went down, they couldn't.
D-man who starts with an A.
3
It's
minutes
Alvin
before the deadline.
Alvin Olofsson, who was a second round pick a few years back. He's high PA, one of these defensive guys who Carolina loves. Low anticipation, low creativity, all around defenseman,
Ooh,
low speed,
Ufco looks
high
good.
PA, very high PA. Yeah, Ufko is a good pickup.
Really good, yeah.
I've been talking about it the entire time. Like, okay, Washington's issue is they have no defensemen. They simply do not have defensemen. And so within 2 minutes of the deadline, these are the last two deals, they pick up two pretty good defensemen.
And not for a lot of assets, right?
Really not.
2038
Fair
first
bit.
and a couple.
Yeah, it's a first kind of reclamation project type guy in Albin Olofsson for Ufko, which this is good value on both sides to me. Ufko's signed next year too, so that's pretty fucking nice. They'll get to hold on to him. He should be effective for them next year too. They really were desperate for defense, and yeah, simple, good fit. A team like the Canes with 300 defensemen they're trying to sell. Yeah, sell to Washington, who desperately needs defensemen.
Do you want to talk about Shapeco as well, or
Oh yeah, we can touch on
Okay.
that too. Second, third for Shavko, who is
Same
also
issue.
locked up for a pretty long time. Yeah.
Same issue we just talked about with Washington. They didn't have any defensemen. Shavko for me ranks second amongst their D after Robin Gula.
Huh.
Yeah, Gula is the guy who's going to be walking most likely. I don't think
Mm.
he's going to sign another $2 million contract. They only have $4 million in cap space, so it's likely they lose Sandine and Gula. So Shevko and Bufko are long term, or not long term for
How the
Bufko, but next year replacements, and then they find a way to make the bottom pair work.
how the fuck did Corey Roy end up in the fucking AHL? What? Or ECHL? What even?
Shavko, former Tank Montreal Canadian legend.
Classic.
Minus
He's good.
50. Minus 50 in his year with Montreal.
Oh no!
Oh,
His
that was the
rookie
tank year.
year.
Oh, he was just some guy I signed was like, well, I'm tanking, might as well just find as much random guys as possible, and I didn't think he
And
had anything
he,
in him, and that's a big L on me.
Was
he
Roy waived?
He wasn't
I
waived. He just didn't get signed by Vancouver, and I picked him
no
up.
Corey Roy.
Oh, Corey Roy. Oh, let's see.
Yeah, how the fuck did he end up in the minors? I would claim the shit out of this guy. What?
Me too.
I think he got waived this last sim. Oh yeah, he did get waived this last sim. They had Arneal, and I
Right.
think they're replacing.
Nah, I don't think we're going to let them to
No,
replace.
he
Yeah,
he can't replace. It wasn't an AGM
Oh,
it's because he was actually over the cap, right?
I
because
see.
the Shave Co trade put him over the cap, so he had to waive someone.
Actually, he waived
Mm.
Roy yesterday, which is unfortunate. Nobody claimed him in game. Nobody claimed him
Yeah.
at the trade deadline, so
Oh no,
No,
yeah.
he did. He got claimed. He got claimed.
He got
I
claimed
put
by the
yeah,
Preds.
by
They
the
just didn't
Preds. They just
fucking
didn't
do
do
the
it.
trade.
It's rough.
Ah,
There's
no,
nothing
that's
you
what I
can
mean.
do.
No one
Right.
claimed him in game.
Gotcha.
And
yeah. They'll
Oh.
have to send him with the draft or some shit. Whatever.
Colton claimed D'Amico Blaine and didn't claim him in game, so
I
Yeah,
gotta
he did
fix
that.
I gotta fix the Teddy Winslow because he claimed Winslow to the Jets in game, but not in chat.
Yeah. All right. So that's every trade.
That's
at
every
the
trade.
deadline.
Look at that. So, all right,
Trade
big
deadline
winners.
Dallas.
Stars.
Stars and Panthers for me. I think the Panthers had. I didn't talk about it with this enough with the Stenman Lysell pickup. I think the issue with the Panthers really is a lack of those like high end scorers that Lysell exactly is. He's had a slow start with them, dude.
He's playing him
Florida
third
should
line.
fire their coach into the sun. Everyone on this team is underperforming. Like, what is this?
Who they have? They have Antoine Roussel. Direct attacking.
Son.
So that's a lot of dump and chase,
He's
right?
playing
Yeah.
Lysell with Lundell and Neilstrop.
We'll see how the lines work out, but like, yeah, I don't know what it is with Florida. Their entire team's been underperforming this entire year. It's weird.
I'd probably flip Lysell and Zimmer.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't. But to each
I
his own.
give it some time, honestly. Like
Zimmer's at 40 points in 46 games.
yeah,
Where's Lysell?
I
I
love
like a
Zimmer.
lot of these pickups. Yeah, Zimmer's good. He's quite good. He's been hurt a lot of this year, which has probably hurt them.
Yeah, they're
quite a bit.
comparable in points, and Zimmer's played a lot less games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just don't
I
see any production coming from Lysell with that that line mate tandem, Lundell and Neilstrop. I don't think he's going to do anything with them.
I think Nilstorp should be able to get something. That looks like it should work. But we'll see, obviously. We'll see. They have to find a fit before the playoffs, obviously,
Right.
before they do the annual Florida Panthers thing and disappoint me once again.
The only thing I'm not necessarily sold on lines-wise for them is Schittinger on the first line left wing with Shear and Lambert. But if that's what they're going to try to use, like maybe as a match one, I don't know. They have time to figure out lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got all of March. Yeah, I like Florida's deadline. I'm higher on Perfetti than I think any of you.
I don't see him as I don't see him as a 2C, which is what they have him employed as right now.
I don't either. But I think they can swap him and Lambert basically, and just operate
Fair.
like that, something like that, and have him as a winger. And I think as a winger, Perfetti can get like Jordan said it briefly,
better, right?
like an 8. Like I think he'll excel on the wing. Lysell obviously has the potential to excel on the wing, and Stenman makes their decor a lot more respectable. It's quite that top pair as they have it right now of Bouchard Stenman is sexy. Like that's nice. That's so nice.
This team is underratedly old, I feel.
Oh, it's super old. Like Florida is approaching the end of their window rapidly. Like
Now
they
or
need
never.
to win soon.
Yeah. Bouchard's 37, Perfetti, as we just said, 35, Askarov 34, Stenman's 34, Lysell's 34, Lambert's 33, Zemer's 32. Like, a lot of their core pieces are over the 30 line.
Well,
Yes, this is an old team.
yeah, every year I say like Florida looks really good and I think they could win, and then they're just out right away or whatever. So maybe this is the year.
Maybe?
Maybe the year that we all count them out is when they'll be
Is
like,
the
yeah,
they're
hell
done.
yeah, we're in there. Like the Caps in real life. You just say they're cooked, they're in there.
You didn't believe in Devontae Smith-Pelly first line winger?
Scoring like 20 goals in the playoffs? No, I didn't.
Cool.
Yeah. Who's your biggest losers? Because I think for me, it's the Rangers and the Sharks. Because I will never agree with the Sharks' moves. I'm sorry. They just feel like at a core philosophical level right now. I just disagree with it.
I disagree with the
So
Sharks as a loser simply because I think the value they did get was good value. I disagree with the direction. I think my biggest loser, honestly, is the Coyotes because the entire time
they
they were
had-
trying to sell everything and no one bought because
prices were really
Absurd.
high.
Yeah, you can see why he didn't sell anything. People probably messaged him for players.
I messaged him a
There's
lot.
a reason he didn't post the prices until trade deadline day, and there's a reason that he didn't move any of those guys.
And like
Yeah.
he was very big as in like anyone, everyone, trading now, please, and no
you
one
talking
took him up. The Yotes.
The Coyotes, yeah.
I hit the Zachary Bolduc for a first, second, and third. I had a good chuckle when I
Roared
saw
for
that.
2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and a spec is like
I don't
a
know who's being
heist.
serious.
I think
That would
He
I'd veto
wanted
that.
a second for Tyson Hens, I think, right?
Third and fourth for
Third and
Tyson
fourth. I
Hines,
mean,
which,
I when
like,
I
that-
tried to offer Tyson Hens, and the actually price went down to a third and fourth. He was trying to get me
Yeah,
to give him
like-
a second. Like, buddy,
The-
he's expiring. The most he ever went for at his prime was a third. Like, you're trying to go fuck off, you know?
Yeah. The thing is, I feel like the Coyotes did probably end up going down a lot of on these guys, but they did it on deadline day. Like they
2 hours before.
yeah, it was like 6 hours before, which like it's just too late. We talk about Hines. That would have been in lieu of Bjorn fought, right?
Yeah,
That would have been exactly okay.
the
Too
day
late
of.
then.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing. A lot of these guys, the price lowers too late. I think they tried to high roll a bit, and it bit them in the ass. I think that's a good call as one of the losers at the deadline. Because yeah, they just had the same theme. They weren't able to sell anybody.
nope. And they're old and they're not good.
I think if you disagree with Bork being or not Bork, who was it? Person or Bork or both, you could consider Columbus a loser, even though
Okay.
the value was probably pretty close to fair. I think they got the players they wanted, but did they are they really going to achieve what they wanted with that? I still like the moves for Columbus. I don't think they're a deadline loser, but I think the Rangers definitely the most accurate. The Coyotes is probably second, and yeah, I'd put myself third just simply for the fact that I didn't need to go this direction, but I'm looking for 2040.
Yeah. Yeah, Coyotes is a great call. This is rough for them.
We have 14 players age 29 and younger, so
Oh yeah, that's good for you, buddy. But
I don't know.
I mean, as I said, like, direction wise, I might not necessarily agree, but value wise, I think you did great. Honestly, like, yeah, but value wise, you did well, and that's why I'm not going to put you in the losers category. I'm
I will.
We'll see what I do with the assets when the time comes.
touche.
Yeah. Like, I could be so wrong. Honestly, if I'm wrong as fuck on your team, come back to me in like 3 years and just make fun of me.
I won't.
I'm cool with that.
I won't. I
But
mean, I don't think. I think you're right. Like my philosophy was jumbled. I didn't, I picked a direction and then I went the other direction 3 sims later, and then I went the other direction 5 sims later. But it really just comes down to opportunity, value. Opportunity presents itself with the value. I'm going to take it.
yeah, oh man. Yeah, the Coyotes not even making a single move at the deadline is pretty hard.
And what about
There's
Colorado?
a couple teams that didn't. Yeah, Colorado not making a single move. They really needed a 3C. Like
Yeah,
we've been talking about it all year. This team
It's
needs a 3C.
they still have Pampane playing 3C.
They need a 3C. Like they still do. So this is a pretty obvious
5
hole.
million cap before pro rates, like opportunity for person, Perfetti, maybe Bork.
Pampane's face-off percentage has skyrocketed since the last time we talked about it. It's at a cool 20% now.
Oh wow.
Oh, let's go. 20 face-offs. I hate you.
Elite.
Yeah, it's
The Avs should have bought
yeah.
SC, NEC, because Niederbach, I guess, is a 3C, I suppose, somewhat works better than Pampane, right? Like,
Yes.
I'd rather them to pay the 7th for Ben Bujol than run Pampane out at
Run
3C.
Pampane.
Exactly.
I agree with that. Because then you can move Pampane to the wing, where he's actually pretty effective.
Right.
Not like crazy, obviously, but he's like not bad.
He has pretty sick techs, right? Like Montreal, Quebec,
He
negative
never
too.
performs as you'd want to, because I
Right.
think his mentals just suck.
This is his
I
career
think he's one
year.
of those guys like DDP, where he just has the worst fucking offensive role ever. You look at his anticipation and creativity; they are bad.
Yeah, no, 11-11.
Yeah. I don't know. A few teams that I think should have been a little more active than they were. I think maybe Vancouver should have been more active, either buying or selling. If you're like close to the playoffs like that, I think you should make some moves, either to try to get in or try to fuck off.
Very
Yeah.
reminiscent of when I was trying to sneak into the playoffs and bought Arizona's top 3 players on block.
Yeah.
Like you could easily weaken the number 7 seed who's trying to lose and kick yourself up to that.
Very
7 or
true.
8 seed
Yeah,
if
good
you really
underrated
wanted to.
underrated pick about that. You're right.
I considered doing exactly that by like going for Luno or something. But the prices they had on offer for a lot of their guys, to me, I was like, I'm not paying these. Like I'm just not paying these. You look at the deal I did for Farabee, that was cheap. Like that was a lot lower than anything they had would have cost. You know, like maybe Lafreniere, but like I don't think Lafreniere has anything really. So
Of the bubble teams in the West, who we think make it? Say
yeah,
Sharks.
there's 4 real teams.
It's bubble teams.
You're not a bubble team. You're too far up. Realistically, the bubble is like Winnipeg, Vancouver, me, Arizona, right?
Yeah, it's probably
the
the one
team.
I'd say. Yeah.
I don't think Winnipeg makes it.
No,
No,
I
I
agree
think-
with you.
I think they did well selling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think the Nucks are Wild?
I still have it Wild making it
Wild.
over.
Wild? Okay. Do we think
Vancouver.
the
Wow.
Yotes drop out over the Canucks or no?
I would say yes. I would actually take Wild, Vancouver, Arizona as the 7, 8, 9.
Interesting. I think Arizona is too far up. I think they might have a bad March and still be in.
They have 3 games at hand and are 4 points up. I think they're not necessarily safe or comfortable in a playoff spot, but they're on line to make playoffs, to say the least. They're also the only one of these to have a positive. No, the other ones have positive goal differentials. My bad.
Yeah, the West is like decent.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there's 9 whole teams with positive goal differentials.
And then East, say what? Between
Oh,
Pittsburgh
Oh yeah,
and
this is a
New
mess.
Jersey, or Pittsburgh and Detroit.
Detroit's too far out, I think.
They have 2 games at hand, though.
They just sold Austin Matthews. They
True.
have no
That's
players.
very true. That's very true. Yeah, they just sold Austin Matthews, but Dubois.
Yeah. Dubois. Maybe Dubois just forces them into the play. I mean, nobody in the fucking East wants it. The fucking 500 is in right now. We shit on the West last year for the same
Very
thing.
true.
Dude, it's March and 500 is in the playoffs.
There's a reason I clinched before the trade deadline.
Yeah, like who's catching you? The East is very top heavy. But yeah, realistic Pittsburgh I think is slam dunk in.
Yeah, I would agree.
And honestly, I think Boston. I think Boston takes the 8 seed.
I'd take Philly over Boston because Philly added, and I believe in the Philly ads more than the Boston's roster
who-
currently.
Who's Philly's goalies?
Sikoka,
Spencer Knight at age 35 and rookie Evgeny Sorokin,
who hasn't
who
been
is-
good.
Yeah, he's 894. Philly has some kind of bad goaltending.
But Callie Kling isn't necessarily good either. Callie King's at a 910 actually. That's
He's
a lot better.
He's like perfectly fine. Yeah, Callie
That's-
Kling is perfectly fine. What I'll say back to the West briefly is out of the bubble
Yeah.
teams we talked about, I have the worst goaltending. Pretty easily too. Carter Hurd is sending it.
Billy's been good, honestly.
Yeah, they've been good of late. I'm still taking Boston. I just don't believe in Philly. I'm sorry. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think
Let's see what
I'll
my model says for
probably-
them actually.
probably take Clang overnight.
Yeah. I think goalie might be why I say in the West too. I think maybe I end up 9th and Vancouver sneaks in over me. Just they have better goaltending. They straight up do.
Okay, so my model has Arizona, Vancouver, Minnesota in that order. And then in the East, it has Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Philly. New Jersey,
But
it's not taking
Jersey's
effect. That
trying to lose.
trying
Wake up,
to
Mr.
book
West.
it. Right, exactly. So that has Pittsburgh. So take out New Jersey. It's a Pittsburgh, Philly, Detroit, Boston, actually. Interesting.
New Jersey doesn't even have their first this year. They shouldn't be trying to lose.
They
They
will
do have their
get it.
first. It's conditional. It's condition.
Oh.
It's yeah. If they make the playoffs, they
make
don't.
playoffs,
If they
don't.
don't make the playoffs, it's a second.
I gave them one of those really friendly fucking conditions because I was like, fuck it. I don't want Addison. Nobody's buying him. And I got a decent spec out of it, so I'm content.
That's what it comes down to. Like in the deals I made, I got at least a spec that I liked, and if I don't get the first, I get multiple other picks. Like
Yeah, did well hedging your bets there. All right, Cup final. Who we choosing?
Right now,
chalk.
I mean, this seems so easy. I almost don't want it to be this easy, right?
Chalk, dude. It's Kings Habs.
Like, holy fuck, the gap between the Kings, the Habs, and the next highest is so funny. It's so funny.
I think so. We go Kings Habs, and then serious threats. West, I would go obvious Dallas and Colorado.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
and
agree
then
with
Yep.
East, I would go obvious, right? Columbus, Buffalo, Washington. Actually, I would put Florida dark horse over a team like Columbus, maybe,
I would agree with that.
and maybe Washington.
I disagree with that. To me, Washington, I really like their deadline moves. I think that's exactly what they needed. Sometimes it's really nice to be a team where the hole on your team is that fucking obvious because we need defense, right? Like,
Right.
And the
okay,
fact that it's defensemen and they're dime a dozen, like easy solution. You just need to find the cap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would go.
Also, we keep saying they need a defenseman, and they're the best team in goals against in the East.
Brybukov's underratedly having a fantastic season.
And their
I'm
power
I'm
play.
more scared of the Caps than anyone else in the East, at least.
I would
go
agree with What's right. They're my
Caps.
second.
Caps, Panthers, Columbus as my
It's probably where I'm at too. Yeah.
my
I'd agree with
secondary
that, too.
tier. Yeah.
Maybe Pittsburgh. I don't know. I'm always way higher than them than I should be. I mean, for no reason. Yeah, fuck. No, I like the Caps. We've talked about some of the goalies having really good years. Milmore obviously should be in the fucking Hart conversation. Like he's,
Yep.
but like Vesna's gone. I'm sorry, but like, and we've talked about Lopez because he's doing a fucking crazy job on Calgary. Rybakov has very quietly been like the second best goalie in the league. He's like fantastic.
Flames had a quiet deadline, honestly, for the most part. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Just picked up Corvo. I think that's a
Corvo,
good move
yeah,
for the
but
Flames.
that
You're a young team just trying to fucking
fair.
move along. Yeah.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna stop them